Hey, what is going on, class? Welcome to another video here. Today we're going to be talking about linear programming. And I just figured I'd walk through one of these problems with you so you can watch it a few times, ask questions. But kind of starting off, as with any problem that has more than just a mathematical statement on it, so something where you have like 2x plus 5 equals 7, which even this, really my advice on everything is read it a few times before you do anything. Because it's always nicer when you have a calm mind, when you're relaxed, you know exactly what you're doing. That's when you make the best decisions. We want to avoid, and in fact it's written on the top of your test, I believe, avoid silly mistakes. Avoid those mistakes that you make because you were rushing. Avoid those things that you wouldn't make that mistake twice if you stopped and thought about it. Think about that in life. You always want to go into a situation as prepared as possible and as relaxed as possible. Believe that you're going to do well. And that's what you want to take into every single problem, because there's no problem you're going to see in this class that does not have, one, a solution, and the solution is something you can figure out. Remember that. Confidence is what gets you the grades that you want. It's what gets you the jobs that you want. So go into this with confidence. Read it the first time. No intention of doing anything. Just read it. Then read it again with the confidence that I can answer this. So, first step. A company receives and sells $20 per book and $18 per calculator. The cost per unit to manufacture each book and calculator are $5 and $4 respectively. The monthly, 30-day, cost must not exceed $27,000 per month. If the manufacturing equipment used by one company takes 5 minutes to produce a book and 15 minutes to produce a calculator, how many books and calculators should the company make to maximize profit? Determine the maximum profit the company earns in a 30-day period. All right, we've got it in our heads. It's going through the subconscious. We don't need to think about it too much. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to read through it again, and we're going to note things that seem important. Now, I'm going to use a highlighter. Honestly, if you have one, grab them. I have like a stack of 3 different ones on my desk, and I have infinitely many colors on this. But let's read through it again. A company receives and sells $20 per book and $18 per calculator. The cost per... Okay, stop. When we read that first sentence, a company receives in sales $20 per book and $18 per calculator. That sounds to me like this word here, profit. Most of these questions, a lot of times, and let's be honest, in our own lives, we always want to know, what are we going to profit? Like, I would be lying if I don't sit there when I get my paycheck and I subtract off things I'm going to have to spend money on and all of that and go, okay, what am I actually making at the end of the week? Like, you could break it down to the hour. Every hour that I sit here and make videos, that I sit in class and talk to people, it's very easy to get drawn into what's the profit. Like maybe 10 minutes of my hour is actually going towards profit. The rest of it's just going towards living. And that's something you want to keep in mind, especially as you're looking at problems like this. Keep that. Like, profit matters. You want to maximize profit. You want to get as much money out as you can in these problems. And life, a little bit less so. It's more about the satisfaction of what you're doing. You want to show up to work and be as close to loving it as you can be. Some days it's just about making money, but you want to know money, you don't want to limit it. And if you don't want to limit something, we're going to highlight that green. And the thing that is unlimited, the thing that we don't want to cap, we don't want to say, okay, you can only make this much money, or you have to make this much money. We don't want to come in and arbitrarily impose our will on that. We want just a free capitalistic society here where this company is welcome to make the money that they want to make. So, green, when you have that thing that you're wanting to, in this case, maximize profit, that is your step 5 down here. And we'll write that equation here in a moment. But let's keep reading through. The cost per unit to manufacture each book and calculator are, okay, I see more numbers. The cost per unit to manufacture each book and calculator are $5 and $4 respectively. The monthly cost must not exceed $27,000. So what we see here is they're talking about, okay, each book and calculator. So when you see this word respectfully here, what they're saying is whenever you have something like blah, 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 and blah, 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 respectfully, what they're getting at is take the order, slide it over, and it goes in the same order. So like if we were to take this $5 and $4 and just slide it over, it would be that $5 and $4. And just it lines up with the order previously stated from the items. So here we're seeing that each book costs $5 and each calculator costs $4. And that in a 30-day period, you must not exceed that $27,000 per month. Okay, let's go back, highlight, different color. I want blue. If the manufacturing equipment used by one company takes 5 minutes to produce a book and 15 minutes to produce a calculator, okay, that is another one. And this one might seem a little tricky at first, because you have to think about, okay, wait a sec, we're talking about monthly. So we're going to double highlight that 30 days, because that 30 days goes not only to that red highlight, but also goes to the blue. And then we're to our question. How many books and okay, that's our maximization question. So right here, we should have one inequality and a second. So we'll go back and highlight that here in a minute. Actually, let's see. Blue and, whoops, not green, red. So those are going to be our things that we're going to be looking at. And the way we can double check this also, and you notice I haven't really written anything down here yet, that we want to think about how many books and calculators should be produced to maximize profit. So this Z equation down here, or step 5, is going to be money. How many books? So we should have here for both our X and our Y, number of, and I'm going to do books and calculators. Because when we're reading this, how many of these things is a number. It's asking for a quantity of things. So looking at this, now we're going to write our equations knowing that X is our number of books and Y is number of calculators. So on this blue inequality, if the manufacturing equipment used by one company takes, so this is manufacturing time, which kind of what I want you to remember is here, this is whatever it takes for you to know what they're talking about. If time explains it to you, great. If you're like, okay, I don't like that, I want to put like manufacturing time, go for it. That is up to you. But I'm going to just say time for the sake of my pen's a little thick for this. A book takes 5 minutes. So I'm going to put here 5x, and the calculator takes 15 minutes, so 15y. Now let's think about this. Are we told how many hours a day? Like, is this a machine that is run 9 to 5? Is this an 8-hour shift? Well, we're not told that. So what we assume here is that this machine runs 24/7 for that entire 30 days. You could add in restrictions where you're only accounting for an 8-hour workday. That's something we could do if we wanted to. But let's just be straightforward. Let's not, because then we have to find, okay, how many 8-hour days are in 30 days, and then we have to do a bunch of conversion. Let's just skip that. we're going to assume this is 30 days straight, that midnight strikes, it's December 1st, we start cranking out books, the machine, we just need one person working around the clock, hire 3 different people, boom, we're done. So what we need is we need to take, because think about this. This is minutes. We cannot put days here. We need to get days to minutes. So we want to be careful. 30 days over 1. We want to get rid of that days. So we need to put days on the bottom. So 1 day is 24 hours. And then 1 hour is 60 minutes. So now we know our fraction rules. So things that are across from each other in the section here cancel. So day and days cancel. And then hours and hour cancel. And we are left with 30 times 24 times 60 minutes. And this is how we convert from days to minutes. Now, plug it into your calculator, you should get 43,200 minutes. So that's how many minutes are in a month. So now, what we're going to do is just take and write that up here. So that's 43,200. And let's think about, if you ran the machine past that 30 days, is that in the month? No, it shouldn't be. You are limited, that you have a maximum value here. So we need everything to be less than or equal. The time we spend producing needs to be less than or equal to that 30-day period. So now we have this, and that's one of our inequalities. Next up, I'm going to ask you, okay, take a minute, pause the video, and try the red one. See if you can get it on your own. So now that you've taken a moment, let's double check it together. So the next one's going to be cost, because they tell me right there that it's cost. So the cost per unit to manufacture each book and calculator are $5 and $4 respectively. So 5x plus 4y. And in that same monthly period, they have $27,000. And that's a max. Because if you think about it, if you go to the store, your mom sent you to the store to get some salt, she gave you $10. If you go to the store and it costs $12 for the salt, you can't buy it. So when you have this situation, you need to think about, what are these limits? What are you doing? Is this a max? Is it a min? So now we have these, and we can see we're out of highlighted stuff. There's no more information to be garnered. So that means there is no third equation. And when we come over here, we should have 1, 2 clear inequalities that we have, but there should also be a third and a fourth. So first thing you're going to do is take and simplify these. So remember, the reason I write this way, I'll add it in blue here, is because I want to just go add a plus sign and read it straight through. That is an inequality. 5x plus 15y is less than or equal to 43,200. That's what I want. I want just straight through read. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to solve it for y, because we can't graph it without solving it for y. So when we go through and do this, so I'm going to subtract that 5x over. Let's go ahead, I'll do it in this red thing. 5x plus 15y is less than or equal to 43,200. Subtract that 5x off, so I get 15y is less than or equal to negative 5x plus 43,200. Then divide by 15. Y is less than or equal to negative 1/3 x plus, let's see here. I don't have my calculator turned on. 43,200 divided by 15, 2880. 2880. So now we just take and we're going to write that in equation 1. Y is less than or equal to negative 1/3 x plus 2880. And now we're going to take and do the same thing with the next one. So 5x plus 4y less than or equal to 27,000. Subtract the 5x. 4y is less than or equal to negative 5x plus 27,000. Divide by 4. Y is less than or equal to negative 5/4 x plus 27,000 divided by 4. 6750. Awesome. So now write that in. Y is less than or equal to negative 5/4 x plus 6750. And now the question is, let's say Jim works for this company. And Jim's walking out, and maybe I'm going to call this TI because I like Texas Instrument calculators. And he walks into the class, and James is sitting there with a Casio. Is this accounting for Jim going, Casios suck, and throwing it into the wall? No, it's not. It is not accounting for any breakage, any loss of calculators or books. So we need to say that. We need to say, okay, calculators and books can only be positive. We're not losing any. We're not going negative. So we need that reality bounds. On almost all of these, the reality bounds are important because otherwise you have negative solutions. And you also don't get a closed shape, so you don't get as many solutions. So now that we have these, I'm going to go ahead and refer you to one of the other videos where I go through how to plug these into the calculator and get your results. But you can go ahead, pause the video, take a moment, and get your graphing done. If you're struggling with graphing at all, my advice is to just slow down, give it a look, and it'll start to click a little bit more as you're looking at it, because these calculators are confusing. They should be. It's a very advanced piece of technology that usually the way I determine is how something is progressing technologically is how does its price change over time? Well, these calculators were $150 when I started school, and they are still $150. They've made a lot of improvements to them over time, but they still sell my calculator as the slightly cheaper option at like $135. So when we're looking at this, hopefully you have a graph, and hopefully you're starting to see that, okay, what does it take to have a mastery level? What is an A quality graph? An A quality graph to me is what you can pair where you can give me these inequalities and I can type it into my calculator, type everything in, and based on your graph, I should get exactly the same thing. So when I'm drawing my graph, the way I'm going to have this set up is, first off, get the axes. I do not like how that ended up. Almost. So first thing first, what are your axes? What's the x-axis? Well, the x-axis is number of books, and the y-axis is number of calculators. Now, give me some scale. What's the window? And one way that you can do this is by looking at what are the x and y intercepts. So, obviously, my minimum makes sense. Okay, I can only have bigger than 0 and bigger than 0. So this would be my y-min, and this would be my x-min. So I'll label it there. Next up, I'm going to look at the y-intercepts. Well, I have 2880 and 6750. Which one is bigger? 2880 versus that 6750. Well, 6750 is clearly bigger. So I'm probably going to go like 7,000 up here for my scale. Because I want to be a little bigger than what I'm doing. Next up, I want to look at my x-intercepts. So what I would do is come up here and look at this. What if I got rid of this column? And I asked you to solve for 5x equals 43,200. Well, you're going to take 43,200 and divide it by 5. And we get 8640. So I have 8640 as one value. And then 5 goes into 27,000. 27,000 is way less than 43,000, which means my x value is way less than this. So what I'm going to do is just call this 9,000 on the x-axis. So once again, you want to look at, always for these, 0, 0 is going to be down here. Then you want to look at, what are the x-intercepts? Where are these equations going to cross the x-axis? And then go just a little bigger than it. Same thing, y-intercepts. Go a little bigger than the biggest one. And now come in, do your graph, and kind of just the quick sketch of it. It's going to look something, no, come back, don't go to eraser. It's the one problem with technology, is technology, when it fails usually catastrophically. Black. Get our nice shaded region. And remember, these should be neat. Like I said, I should be able to look at yours and know exactly what your calculator was doing. So, there we go. We got our graph. This would be, in my opinion, a mastery level graph. You have the axes labeled. You've told me the scale so that I can come in and I can make my window from looking at this. And I can just, if I typed these equations in, this is what I should see on my calculator. So that's our first step. Next up, what we're going to be doing is we want to find, where are these intersection points? And we want to remember kind of some key questions to ask yourself. Why do we care about the shaded region? What is the shaded region? Well, the shaded region is our feasible region. The feasible region. So the feasible region is all possible solutions to a given inequality. So in this case, we have a system of inequalities. And now I'm running out of room. Please forgive the angle. But this is a system of inequalities. The feasible region for this is the stuff that satisfies each and every one of these. And we care about these vertices because these vertices are maximizing any two of these. Like this vertice is maximizing that our x value is greater than 0. Really, it's maximizing that our x value is 0. And it's maximizing, that's going to be our smaller equation, so this one. So this is maximizing, making no books, and it's maximizing your time. This is saying, okay, we're going to do the most amount of time, and we're going to produce only calculators. That's that point. This point down here is maximizing that we're doing absolutely nothing. We're not going to make calculators. We're not going to make books. We're on strike. This point here is maximizing. See, we're on the books axis. So this point here is maximizing. We're going to make 0 calculators, no calculators. We're only going to produce books. And it's maximizing this equation here. This is saying, okay, we're going to spend all of our money on making books. This point here, and a lot of times this is kind of the one that you want to think about and pay attention to. This one is saying, okay, I'm going to make absolutely as many books and calculators as I can possibly make in the time frame and for that cost. This is maximizing time and cost. That I'm going to spend all $27,000. I'm going to spend all 43,200 minutes, and I'm going to make as much of both as I can. So each one of these points is maximizing something conceptually. And when you're doing this for decision making in your own life, it's important to think about, what are the things that matter the most? You can get some of everything, but you have to choose which 2 things you're going to maximize. So then you can go through on your calculator, you can find the points, or if you're like, I don't know how to use the calculator, what you're going to do is go to a point like this point here is this line. So that is a vertical line. That's my x equals 0. And you're going to plug it in to the other line's equation, which is this one. So you would just plug in x is 0 here, and you would get your coordinate. I'm going to assume that you know how to do it, or that you can come in and ask me if you need help. I'm just going to go ahead and write 0, 0, 54,000, 0, or 5,400, my apologies, 0, 2880, and this other one here, 4221.82, comma, 1472.73. So when we're looking at this one, and we're getting our 4 points, we want to remember also 4 equations, 4 points. Easy way to double check that you're on the right path. So write an equation representing what you're trying to maximize or minimize. So that's this green thing up here, our step 5. So we make $20 per book and $18 per calculator. So if I want to know how much money I made, I'm just going to come in here and go, okay, a book is $20 per book plus $18 per calculator. That's my maximization equation. And remember, right here, that is how much money we want to make. So on step 6, we're going to make a little table. A little X, Y. Come on, straighten out. Fix it, good. And Z. And I like to just put the equation here because it reminds me what I'm doing. And you can come in, you can type this into your calculator with me. This is what we covered in class, where you're just going to your stat button, hit enter on edit, and then you're going to, in the L1 column, you're going to enter your X values. So 0, 5,400, 0, and we want to be careful here, 4221. And I'm not rounding it because let's think about this. This is saying the absolute biggest X value can be 4,221.8. We're not going to produce 0.8 of a book, so we need to round down. So this is just going to be 4221. So enter those in, 0, 5,400, 0, 4221. And we're going to scroll over to this L2 column. So that was L1. L2, we're going to type in these, so we're typing in the Y's. So 0, 0, 2880. And then here, same thing. Round down, 1472. So 0, 0, 2, 8, 8, 0, 1472. And now you're going to scroll over to this L3. and you're going to type in, scroll up to the top where you're highlighting L3, and you're going to type in 20-second 1 for the L1 column plus 18-second L2 for the Y, and hit enter. And now you get a bunch of different values here. And you're just going to write them down. And remember, these are dollars, so I like to put dollar signs here. So dollars, if we make no books, no calculators, $0. You didn't work, you don't deserve to get paid. Second one, we only make books. $108,000. Okay, that's a lot more money. Third one here, if we only made our calculators, you would get $51,840. That's significantly less than just producing all books. But then we get down here, and if we make the most of each that we can, we get $110,916. That is the clear winner. That if we maximize making both, that is the most money we can get. And that right there, saying that in a sentence is all step 7 is, which it got cut off on mine, so I'll just write it right here. Step 7 says, what's the answer? What is the best decision that this company can make? So the company should make 4,221 books for every 1,472 calculators to maximize profit. And I barely got it on the page. So that's kind of how you work through these problems. This is mastery level. This is what I expect. And from each of you, I know each of you can do this. So I have confidence in you. The number one thing is to have confidence in yourself when you do it. When you're looking at this, all you're going to get on the test is this part here. So I would make sure that you feel confident in that you know each step. That's one part of what your grade is do you have step 1, step 2, all the way through step 7. The other part is neatness and being orderly. Know that it's limited on time because that is what makes proficiency, but practice makes permanent. Practice makes speed as well. So when you're looking at this, you have what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pages. So there are what? How many of those problems? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Sorry, there's 12 different problems like this that you've had access to practice. Take advantage of that. You have today to practice and get prepared and come in and ask questions or send me an email so that I can make a video like this for you so you can get a little more help. If you have any questions, please come in or send me an email and let me know, and I would love to help you figure this out because this stuff, you don't need to think about the world mathematically. Plenty of people live their lives with no idea how to think properly. It is so important that you take the time and know how to think mathematically because it will save you money in the long run, or it'll help you make more money in this case, but it will change the way you see the world for the better. Learning math has never made anyone dumber. So keep that in mind. You're going to do great. Study hard, and I will see you all in class on Thursday.